Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Strategic Command World War II, World at War. It is May of 1942 in our Allied Let's Play. The war is a bit of a mixed bag. We just fought what I think may be a decisive battle off the island of Kwajalein. We sank, I think it was one Japanese fleet carrier, crippled another, and we sank 3 Japanese battleships. We have also damaged 1 Japanese heavy cruiser, and we are hoping that the enemy counterattack is not too strong, that they only have 1 carrier left in the area. They lost 2 carriers off Pearl Harbor a couple of months ago, and so 3 fleet carriers lost for the Japanese. We know they have 1 fleet carrier off the coast in Malaya, as well as a battleship and a light cruiser and a destroyer over that way. They have a total of 16 warships left, and there's 4 here off Malaya. We know there's some stuff down here near Rabaul. We know there's at least 1 carrier off the coast of China, and then we know there's still 1 destroyer, 1 carrier, 1 light cruiser, and 1 heavy cruiser here near Kwajalein. So that doesn't leave a whole lot of excess naval strength that we haven't identified for the Japanese, and so hopefully that means, you know, there's no risk of a serious counterattack crippling our forces here, because we are a little bit strung out. We won what I think is a pretty substantial victory against them. That being said, if there is a major counterattack by them, that could change the sort of the complexion of this fight pretty substantially, pretty quickly. With that being said, we'll see what happens when we end the turn. On the Chinese front, oh, here's a battleship off the coast of the Philippines as well. On the Chinese front, things are a little bit worse. The communists just joined the war, so we've kind of rushed troops north and east. However, they're very vulnerable. They're brand new troops. Their morale is low. Their readiness is low. And so there's a good chance they'll be overrun by the Japanese. We do have a couple of gaps in our line here to the north near Ichang. This fortification across the river here is unguarded. However, we have inflicted 50% casualties on 2 Japanese armies here to the east of Sian. We just destroyed a Japanese armored unit near Changsha. We've also badly damaged a Japanese tactical bomber unit near Changsha. We assume the Japanese will need to pull out both the fighter and the bomber unit here near Nanqing because they're exposed to ground attack. The Japanese have landed paratroopers behind our lines, but they're cut off and have no supply, so there's hopefully not much risk there. Meanwhile, the Japanese have pushed back out of Amoy, and they've landed at Hong Kong. So the situation in China is fluid. We have a couple of British or Indian corps on the way. I'm hoping they're able to support the Chinese and really help stem the tide there, but that remains to be seen. On the Malay Peninsula, the Japanese special forces there, the Marines, are cut off with low supply. We have troops coming down from Burma through Thailand. Thailand apparently has joined the Allied side, while the Japanese landing and drive on Singapore has really gone nowhere to this point. The British fleet in the Bay of Bengal is forming, but we don't have the points to kind of build them out completely, and so that's another thing to kind of be aware of. With that being said, we also have a number of other forces here in Burma and whatnot that would be ready for a counterattack if necessary down the Malay Peninsula. We also have a couple of garrison units that we've moved to ports along the East African coast. They're going to jump on transports and they're going to head to Spain in the next turn because Spain will probably fall in about a turn. There's a couple of partisan hexes that we need to make sure that we garrison so they don't rise up in our rear, they don't cause issues in our rear. So that's something to be aware of. With that being said, we'll see. Our invasion of Spain is going pretty well. We just took Cadiz. We have Madrid surrounded. We took Burgos, which is the alternate capital for the Spanish. So as long as they don't retake Burgos this turn, and as long as we take Madrid, then the war in Spain will be over. We did land troops in Barcelona and took Barcelona, so we opened up a second front in Spain, and we have Canadian tanks also on the way to Barcelona. Assuming that all goes well, the plan is to drive into southern France, into Bordeaux, to take Bordeaux, and then drive up the very narrow front line up here toward Paris. That's all with the aim of forcing the Germans to pull troops off the Russian front, where they're probably going to take Stalingrad in about 2 to 3 turns, Vorzaya as well. Moscow could easily fall in 2 to 3 turns. They have a very strong armored fist here that suffered heavy casualties, but they continue to attack with very strong effectiveness. The Rhine has limited their tactical air force to this point, but they have a huge tactical air force that can really bomb our troops out of their positions, and it would not shock me to see Moscow fall in 2 turns. I think Leningrad's a little bit safer because the supply situation for the Germans on the northern front is very poor, and they don't seem to have a ton of armor up there. Nonetheless, there's a lot of infantry in and around here threatening the northern front as well. Russia may fall soon. But the key is that Russia needs to hang on long enough for us to establish a impenetrable beachhead and drive into Paris and retake Western Europe, and forcing the Germans then to reprioritize. We also have a bunch of troops in North Africa that are a little bit bloodied, a little bit battle-worn. They can be shifted to Europe. The one reason they're still in Africa is a few reasons. One, we don't have enough points in shipping to get them out of there and to send them to Europe. The other reason is I am playing a little bit cautious because the Vichy are switching toward the Axis, and in the event that the Vichy join, I may lose all of North Africa if I pull all my troops out of there. With that being said, let's go ahead and end the turn. It's time to see what comes up as we move into June of 1942, and we presumably await the German counterattack or the German summer offensive in Russia. A new fortress complex is completed on the outskirts of Moscow. We got some armor in the Pacific. British commandos are raiding Calais, so that's good. Any damage we can do to the Germans in Europe, great, especially free stuff on events like that. German raiders are raiding British and USSR convoys. Britain's developing infantry warfare level 1, so that should help our infantry combat. We're also developing industrial technology level 1. America's developing ground attack weapons level 2 for their tactical bombers. Logistics level 3 should be great because we don't have anywhere near enough American headquarters units. China's developing infantry warfare level 1 as well. That should also hopefully help us on the Chinese front. That's doctrine, by the way. That's not infantry weapons. It's infantry warfare, which is, again, doctrinal. All right, so the Italians moved in and took Revishk. They moved around our flank there, by the look of it. Large numbers of Japanese destroyers operating in the Gulf of Siam here, kind of battering around our sub there. Their cruisers did move forward and finish off that destroyer of ours near Kwajalein. Their heavy cruisers moved toward any Weetalk and damaged the destroyer. They didn't quite finish it off, though, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with their carrier there. Bombardment off the coast of Malaya. They gone. Thank you very much for the subscription. Greatly appreciated. Japanese, as expected, are pulling their air force out of southern China, or at least away. Some reinforcements occurring on the Russian front. Oh boy, they must have pulled troops out of the Russian front because there are 2 German heavy tanks that just showed up in Spain. Shit. 3 German heavy tanks just showed up in Spain. These are units, by the way, that we have not seen at all on the Russian front. I haven't seen a single heavy tank unit on the Russian front, unless my memory is completely foggy, which is certainly possible. But that is gravely concerning. If they just have heavy tank units and a bunch of them sitting around, not even being the key reason they're having so much success in Russia. Naval combat's pretty meh, Tortuga. It's not primarily focused a naval game. I would say the weakest element of the game is probably naval. The strongest is probably... Although I will say that the convoy campaigns are probably interesting. Look at all this German tactical air hitting our troops all over Russia, setting the groundwork for a breakthrough for German forces here. They could easily drive into the Caucasus. Fortunately for us, they did reinforce their armored unit down there, so I don't think they can actually move through out of the Crimean Peninsula yet. I would say similar to World War I. I don't know if it's bad or worse. I would say it's similar. All right, so German armor there attacking our infantry. Meanwhile, they're moving through on the Russian front and moving adjacent to a headquarters unit. Japanese troops in China attacking some troops that are dug in. Rezev has fallen. Another Soviet corps destroyed there north of Moscow. Novograd is taken by the Germans there. So they've kind of gotten around that natural obstacle, that lake there. Quite a lot of enemy units attacking here. German cavalry is attacking on the Russian front. Hungarian infantry at Caligula, or however you pronounce that. There goes a garrison unit, but that's what they're there for. They're to be speed bumps. They're not to win battles, really. They just drove that army back. Oh, no, they did break through. They're into the Caucasus, and we have no troops there to stop them. goddamn Hungarian troops came down and outflanked us. All this air power is so absurd. They destroyed like 3 units on the Russian front just with air power alone. When is winter? Can we get to winter? Oh boy. Look at all those German units there. The landing in Barcelona may prove fortuitous because we've taken the alternate capital still. So the Spanish unit in Madrid is still surrounded, which means we should still be able to force Spain out of the war here soon. As we shift our troops to deal with these heavy tanks. I'm hoping that's about it. Alright, the paratroopers there are suffering from attrition. Communist partisan activity. Apparently it did something. I didn't see anything, but it did something, supposedly. Okay, so the Russians lost the 13th Garrison, the 12th Corps, the 18th Corps, the Murmansk Garrison, the 10th Corps. The 1st Guards Army was also destroyed. Flying Tigers destroyed. On the Chinese front, Feng HQ and Chengdu damaged. The Americans lost a destroyer. And that was a pretty rough turn there. Heavy Italian artillery spotted. Japanese carrier at Davos. Troops at Mukden. Honestly, guys, I think we're going to lose this war. I'm not very optimistic. We do have a bunch of garrison reinforcements coming online. Let's do this. I don't want to deploy my reinforcements quite yet. I'm going to pull this armor back. Well, I'll just reinforce them here. Hopefully they don't get overrun. Alright, so I want to I need garrison units. That's just a fact. So we'll throw some garrison units here in front of Stalingrad to try and delay them a little bit longer. So we've got 2 garrison units coming in. We'll throw both of those in front of Stalingrad. Again, they're going to die, but that's not really the point. Okay, we'll shift these troops south of Stalingrad. That army will force march down here to protect the flank a little bit. These guys are going to spend the turn reinforcing. These guys are going to fall back, hopefully to survive, and then reinforce next turn. Just quiet. Thank you very much for the follow. Yeah, I mean, the Germans... I think it's safe to say the Germans had a lot of problems in their attempt to advance this far. And that I don't know if... It's probably not super feasible for them to have done that. Alright, that engineer is going to move south of Moscow now. Alright, so let's try using our attack air here to some effect. We'll bomb these troops here closest to Moscow. We're going to run into enemy fighter cover, but we do have some escorts of our own. Do a little bit of damage to the German tank unit there. This armored unit can inflict 2, but it loses... It said 2 to 2, and it lost 3 to 1. Well, that was all a waste. I know counterattacking is probably not the soundest strategy, but it's also one of those things where it's kind of like, I need to do something. Polish corps back there is reinforcing. I'll move it to Penza next turn. Actually, let's go ahead and place one of our new units in Penza. One of our new armies. Just to prevent them from trying to flank us further. We'll also put a new unit in Razan to protect the southern flank. And then we'll put one in whatever this city name is. I know moving those units out of that base is probably not super smart. These guys are entrenched at level 3, so we're going to leave them there, and I'm not even going to attack there. Whoa, 0 to 5? Whoa, 3 casualties there to try and bomb them? Oh, 4. Got him! Nice! Alright, so we just wiped out a German corps near Leningrad, so that's a good result at least. Again, their supply problems in the north are something that I think they're struggling to overcome. Meanwhile, we drove this corps back, so these guys have suffered 40% casualties, destroyed 1 unit up here. This armored unit's down to 2 strength. The problem is with like 6 and 7, their air power could easily obliterate us there, and then they could move in relatively unopposed. So I probably should have actually placed my new units closer toward Moscow. I guess I'll put some anti-aircraft units around here, just hoping that they'll shoot at the enemy fighters or enemy bombers if they do try and do that. So we'll have 3 fighter escorts to intercept. We'll also have flak. Okay. Sir Mushaz, this might be on sale. They have a Steam sale going right now for all Slitherine and Matrix titles. So the Germans are probably going to advance into the heart of the Caucasus next turn. I don't think they can move as far as Grozny. So I think we have some new units that are coming next turn as well that should help. Let's go ahead and purchase some more Russian units though, because that kind of does it for the Russian front. We'll go ahead and buy the first guards for 157 cheaply. And we can go ahead and get one of these corps here. Do we have enough left for a garrison? We do. So we'll get 1 garrison. We'll get 2 garrisons, 1 corps, 1 army that we're purchasing. Got a whole bunch of troops coming in July. 2 garrisons, 2 corps, 2 armies. And then I think that's about it for the Russians next turn. The sale ends on the 28th, Sir Moosejaws, at noon. I don't know what time zone that is, but at noon at some point, for your awareness. In case you were wondering. Okay, so that's probably the Russian front. The Germans, I wish I knew what their supply situation was in Spain. Let's try and overwhelm Madrid. Shit. So there's German interceptors. We have American P-40s escorting. I'm using maritime bombers here against enemy dug-in troops. I'm just hoping they help somehow. We're at least engaging the Spanish Air Force. We'll land the Canadian tanks here. Um... 01, 01, 01. Damn it. Alright, so we move these troops forward to Bilbo. Actually, this is kind of interesting, because the Germans moved their units down to Zaragoza, but Zaragoza is not a supply city. So these Germans already look like they're in rough supply, and now if we can take... I don't know. I wonder if they're going to actually struggle to even to do anything. Part of me wants to move these special forces down here to Valencia, just to see if then they'll have... Well, even Valencia is not a supply city. They may not have any supply. All right, let's attack with the Portuguese troops to try and get them out of their entrenchments. We did that. Move our mechanized troops. Why is no one having any ability to attack these guys? Oh, because our supply is shit. That's why. Fuck. So my own supply is in terrible shape. we'll move this American headquarters unit here, Bradley, toward Portugal. Move the 2nd Mechanized that way, too. We're going to go ahead and move destroyers in front of the convoy in case the Germans try and intercept it with submarines. Because we know they have a ton of submarines around here. I will shield it with battleships. It's not an efficient way to protect... Oh, no! Oh! That was rough. I'm going to lose a battleship there. We almost have the convoy completely shielded. I don't think I have any other... I can use a destroyer, probably, to shield that corner. So there's 2 hexes they can attack from. Meanwhile, we're going to lose that battleship for pretty sure. Why can't those guys get on transports? What if I don't? Yeah, they can't get there unless... Alright, so we're going to send this British Corps out that way as well for further reinforcements. God damn it. So I'm not going to take this... So I've cut the German supplies off. But the reality is that I also have no effective way to take the city. With my supply situation being what it is. I mean, realistically, I should fall back here until the American headquarter unit is in place. I can't even move these guys far enough to fall back. Alright, so we'll follow these guys back toward Portugal a little bit. The good news is, again, I think they're going to be cut off from their own supply. It's just a question of what they can do over the next turn or so, because that's really... I think that's really the deciding factor. How much... Set these guys to mix. Move them off the coast of Spain and start hitting that enemy armor. I may not do a whole lot of damage to them, if any. But the goal is obviously to hurt their morale. The interesting thing is you'd think I'd get some level of intelligence on them. Shit. Of course, the enemy's submarines always dive out of reach of our ships here. Did what crash? Game's still running for me. Alright, we're also going to move a bunch of our tactical air into Portugal or Spain to try and better deal with this enemy armor. We'll have to move some of our fighters as well. to protect them. Okay. Okay. We'll move that carrier down to Spain. Actually, we can move the American carrier here to the rear, or the British carrier here to the rear of the convoy. And can we move this cruiser here? We can. So we can completely shield the convoy from enemy attack. We can move this British unit down here. Why is Vigo still... I don't quite understand why Vigo is still off limits. Now, the real risk here is obviously that we are, in theory, opening the UK up to invasion. We've basically stripped it bare. Okay, so we're just flying a recon flight basically there. We'll do another one. Evade the damage, luckily for us. Looks like they probably pulled a lot of their troops out of France, would be my guess. The American headquarters unit hasn't arrived yet. We'll see what these German tanks do. It would be great to be able to destroy 4 German land units. But my miscalculation on the supply could hurt. Move the 10th British Army in here as well. So we should be able to unload a corps and an army at Barcelona in behind the Germans as well. We'll move our carrier out this way too. I also should transport some of these garrison units at Kismau, but apparently I don't have the funds to do that. Wait, why can I... Oh, there's no port there, that's why. Alright, so we'll move them to Alexandria, the Sudan Force Corps. I think the rules say Stillwell can supply both American and British units in China. Alright, we'll attack there. 1 to 3. Yarrow Plain, thank you very much for the follow there. I will take that result. Basically 3-0 up there in the north. Almost got him. Got him! Alright, we finished off that Japanese paratrooper unit there. With the garrison unit in front of them. Nice. Good result down there in southern China. With our 120 Chinese money, we should probably buy some more units. Buy garrison units there. Can we buy a corps? Yes, we can. With an infantry level technology 2, we can buy one of our destroyed Chinese corps. So that'll be useful. We also have the Indian Special Forces arriving here. Special Forces, I think, work better with less supply, so we can actually move them into China as well. Alright, we'll continue trying to press the Japanese here. In Malaya. Move a headquarters unit slowly down that way. Okay. That probably about does it for our turn. I'm not sure what to expect in Spain. I'm kind of worried the 2nd British Corps here with no supply may get destroyed. I have pulled some of the cordon away from Madrid, but the thing is the Germans don't actually have... They could get some supply if they move into Burgos, I think. I think that's a secondary a supply center. And Gibraltar is a supply center, but there's no rail link between Gibraltar and Madrid. There's no supply link between France and these German units here. So I'm kind of banking on the... Well, let's do this. Oh, God. So these guys have level 5 and level 6 supply. They're level 3 heavy tanks. So that's a concern. The German tech is way outstripping us. But at least by getting on this railway, we've cut off any additional reinforcements. Meanwhile, in the U.S., we had that additional army. We'll move into Charleston. We'll start moving it. We'll operate this bomber unit here. I think we'll actually operate it to Lisbon in Spain. It should have supply there. And that it can kind of strategically interdict or bomb and whatnot. The Pacific Theater for the Americans. We did lose the 1 destroyer, but there really wasn't a very strong Japanese counterattack there. I'm not sure where their navy would fall back to. Alright, so we've identified their carrier. It's in Eniwetok. So we are actually going to go ahead and pursue here with our own carriers and try and hit it in port. Our air wings are outclassed. It looks like they're level... Well, or is it 2 or 3? No, they're level 2. So our air wings are on par with them. The problem is our ground units can't actually attack... Or our naval units can't attack an enemy carrier in port. So you can see there we did damage. We weren't able to sink it, however. Oh, just ran into an enemy cruiser. My goal was to put the ship off the port and blockade it in Eniwetok so we could finish it off next turn. This enemy cruiser exposed its location, so our battleships are going to go after it. Got him! Enemy naval unit here destroyed. this cruiser will go here to block the path. Battleship will back it up. All right, so we are kind of pushing a little bit further west than I feel like we probably should. Doesn't look like they have any ships in Wake Island. We know they had they still have a carrier off Davos, and they had a battleship out that way too. Their naval assets are at 15. If we go to graphs, we can see here that Japanese national morale took a big hit with the loss of those carriers. MPPs, again, they lost way more than their income is. Granted, so did the Americans. Sherman's not even close. God, their income is huge. Yeah. The Italians, who cares? Hey, Spearhead Gamer, thank you very much for the tip. I'm drinking beer right now, not scotch, but every little bit is appreciated. So, thank you to the subs out there, and thank you to everybody who continues to support the channel on in whatever way you are able, whether it's watching, whether it's tipping, whether it's giving bits, whether it's subscribing. It's all greatly appreciated. All right. Yeah, I don't even know. I'm kind of at a loss here. The Germans have so many units. The Germans have 113 units. 113 units is more than the USA or the UK, the USSR, and the United States combined. Germany has more than all of that. And we're fighting. And then there's another 65 for the Japanese, which is equal to the Americans and the British combined, and then a little bit of some. We're so outclassed right now, and the Germans have a big tech advantage over us, too. The one saving grace is that we've really been beating up the Japanese Navy in the Pacific, and that may help limit their ability to expand. I don't really have the forces to exploit that, but it's a thing. All right, so 363 points left. I think the U.S., we have a headquarter unit going into Spain. I'm going to do everything I need to do to make sure that it doesn't die. And then I'm going to go ahead and just buy another army for the U.S. We've already bought some naval assets. We have an army coming in September. We now have an army coming in October. It's probably all we can do for this turn. I don't know why the French continue receiving income when the Free French seem to pull from the British income statement. But that's probably it for this turn. Hey, Warg. I'm a little bit uneasy about what to expect from the Germans this next turn. Like, I mean, we can pray for rain, right? It'll be the July turn coming up, so we're going to have the July turn, the August turn, and the September turn. September may be marred by mud, but basically we have 3 more heavy turns of German attacks that we have to survive through. If they all go the way they did last turn, I don't think we will. But we'll see. With that being said, guys, this is not the classic game. This is the second most recent version of the game. So this is Strategic Command World War II World at War. This came out like 2 or 3 years ago. The newest version is the World War I game. Strategic Command World War I, the newer version of that, which just came out a couple of months back, and this is the one that came out before that. So this is one of the newer versions. Guys, I'm sorry. I know this is a short stream, but I am going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I do have to get to bed early tonight. I'm exhausted. But I will probably be streaming tomorrow as well. I think I'll probably be doing War in the Pacific tomorrow. But I do appreciate you all coming out and the support. Until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you very much for watching, and I'm out.